make the Epstein files about Trump, and I didn't make it about Bill Clinton. I don't care about that. It's about the survivors and people being victimized. Listen, there are some people who say, I don't care about the Epstein files. Well, yeah, it wasn't your daughter who got raped. Maybe you would care. But there are people in every town and every county that have kids or know of kids that got abused. And the question of the matter is, do we have two systems of justice? When we know somebody's guilty, does it matter how much money they have or which parties they go to with which ambassadors and princes so that they can get out of it and anywhere in the world? I don't think we should have two systems of justice. I think, and this is what our founders believed. This is why they fought the war against the king. All of his buddies were getting different treatment than him. And I'm not saying we have a king, but I am saying that there are people who are operating like they're royalty in this country that are not royalty. And even if they were, that's not our system of government. They got to go in front of a judge just like anybody else if they're suspected and there's evidence of a crime. And so that's what I'm going to bring. I'm going to keep bringing that. I got in 6 months, so May 19th is the 6-month anniversary of me getting the Epstein Files Transparency Act passed. If I got that many people in trouble in 6 months, imagine what I could do in another 2 years and 6 months. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Probably most of you don't want your picture with me. I'm in your yearbook. But yes, go ahead.
With regard to the national debt, what's your latest calculation on what's our come to Jesus here?
He asked about the national debt and when is the come to Jesus moment. Look, we have added, I'm ashamed to say this, and this is why they run a warm body against me. We've added $2.7 trillion to the debt. In spite of what you hear on the news about Doge and cutting, there haven't been cuts. We've added $2.7 trillion to the debt in 16 months. The 16 months that we've controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House. And I'm not blaming Trump for that. Look, the checkbook is in the House of Representatives. That's on Republicans in the House of Representatives. When is the day of reckoning? You know, the debt was 16 trillion when I first campaigned for Congress. It's now 39 trillion. If you had asked me, would we get this far without the whole thing collapsing, I wouldn't have thought we would have. But we're the reserve currency across the world. So what we do is when we print money, the government isn't just punishing you through inflation, they're punishing the whole world. And I think the day of reckoning comes when the whole world starts using something other than the dollar. And that is why that's when the music stops, because then you become a country like Brazil or one of these countries, Zimbabwe, where they just print money to make up for the inflation, which causes more inflation, which causes more. It hasn't happened because we're pulling that inflation from around the globe. But when we start just doing it to our own people, that's when the music stops. And that's why they're trying to get central bank digital currency. I know that's a big, long phrase, but they want you all to use digital money so that they can turn it on and off. Well, first of all, they want it to track, to see everything you bought with it. They don't want you to have cash anymore. But they can, not only can they track it, they can turn it off. If they think you're not a good citizen, they can turn it off. But moreover, it makes it easier to print. They can just create more digital currency if they don't have to print it. And so I think there's a chance to turn this ship around. And by the way, when I look at the Republican Party in Washington, D.C., there's 220 of us on any given day. You got to account for weddings and funerals and graduations, and some people are just out that day or somebody's died. So we have about 220 Republicans. 30 of them insider trading, doing the wrong thing every day. As soon as they get up, they have a cup of coffee and start doing the wrong thing. There's 30 of them get up, have their coffee, try to do the right thing. And there's 160 left out of the 220 Republicans in the House that are just doing what my opponent promises to do. They go along to get along. And when the bad guys, who are always going to beat the 30 good guys, right? When the bad guys get their guy elected to speaker, then they run the tables. They got 30 of their votes plus 160 of the rest. But there are 30 who could succeed. They're all watching my race. 3 of them came to Kentucky Saturday to campaign for me. Lauren Boebert, Victoria Sparks, and Warren Davidson. They came in because they're part of that 30. And I don't mind that there's 160 that go along to get along. They'll be very helpful to me when we take over. And thank you. But those 30 need a little bit more of a spine. And they are watching this race. And this is why you got cameras from everywhere. There's cameras from foreign countries here. I used to play with paper airplanes down here on Front Street, right? This is blowing my mind. What did I do wrong, Lord? I brought CNN to Vanceburg. My flame will burn hotter. Because everybody's watching this, not just, but the ones that are watching it, to my point, there's 30 Republicans. In fact, there's 160 deciding who to follow. And there's 30 that'll get a tougher spine and do the right thing more frequently. And there's 160 that say, we might be running with the wrong crowd. They said that they were going to flush Massie down the toilet, and he's still here. Whoa, we're not that brave, but maybe we should start following the other 30 instead of the 30 we've been following. So it's for all the marbles. This race, we're going to make history tomorrow just by the spending, just by the length of this, just by the Secretary of War and the President both coming here to campaign, just by the negative ads, just by this is the first campaign where they've used AI and they can make fake stuff that people can't even tell is fake. That's going to make history. By the way, my opponent is AI. He doesn't have the eye, though. But we're going to make history tomorrow. That's why I need your votes. It is a close race. It really is. The polls, the polls they put out, or the fake ones, are to try to depress turnout. Don't get depressed. I need you to turn out. My polls show this as almost an even race, with me having a little bit of an advantage. But it depends on the average voter and who goes out there and turns out. Conventional wisdom is low turnout is good for the incumbent. That's the bunch of people who voted every time reliably, and they voted for the incumbent, so they'll vote for him again. But this race is not conventional wisdom. Usually if they want to beat an incumbent, they get people who don't know the incumbent to go vote. And then they overwhelm his supporters. In this race, we flipped that on its head. We're trying to get as many people as we can to come out because we have support of the young Republicans.